Greetings, all you humans and monsters out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din coming at you with another Star vs. the Forces of Evil episode review. This time it's episode 18 of season 4 titled Mama Star. That's the side A title, where we continue literally where our last episode left off, because that's just how we're doing things now. We just continuously going through right where we stopped last time, where we see Star just dumping a whole bunch of stuff down into the magic well. Meanwhile, Marco has been going over the hieroglyphics on the wall and has come to the realization that the very first humans in Muni were actually humans. Something that so many people have just been debating for the longest time and theorizing and just going over. But Star just completely ignores this revelation because she's so busy with the well. And I don't know if that was like a slap to the face of fans or what, because so many people have just been waiting for this realization to come or be revealed as the God given truth. Just having it brushed to the side just feels insulting to a certain degree, at least I think so. I'm not really sure. I thought it was kind of funny, but I was kind of taken aback because it's just like, yo, wait, no, actually talk about this for a second. Oscar then descends into the well, having heard all the commotion, and Star explains that she's trying to get the attention of the firstborn because she knows that it's such a neat freak, and with all this junk, they were hoping that maybe they'd actually get its attention. So Oscar then advises them to use the giant freezer, because they felt that was such a big thing, they definitely get the firstborn's attention. But before they can drop it in, the firstborn's just like, yo, stop dropping shit down my well. And she then even explains that, no, I'm not taking you in. Every time you come down here, you just, start screwing shit up. So no, just stay away. Just stay out. But Star's not taking no for an answer, and she and the others declare that they will go down the well and then use Oscar's car in order to get in, much to the chagrin of the firstborn. And Star even explains to the firstborn not to try to just poof them to Muni. No, take us directly to the Muni well so we can get there safely. And the firstborn obliges, just not wanting Star to cause any more havoc, which we see later down the line. So the firstborn ends up pulling them in Oscar's car. And at first, everything seems fine. Everyone seems completely together and of rational mind. But as time goes on, they start to forget various simple things, and they come. And while Star and the others try to calm down and keep their cool, Marco gets really paranoid. Although I love this one line he says, at least I think in his mind to Star, where he's just like, I just want to be really small and fit in your pocket, and every once in a while have you reach in and pat me on the head. I'm just like, man, if that is not a mood, I don't know what is. Like, I love that. Like, just the thought of that, it's just like, yeah, I'd be down for that. But everyone completely loses it, and it gets to the point where the firstborn's just like, hey, cut that shit out. Only for the firstborn to get dragged into this corruption of the magical force. Now, I don't know if this is just from Toffee in general and it's spread this far, or it's something deeper than that. It's not, I don't remember much about the last time Star was in the magical realm, but that's my best guess, that it's still the remaining lingering will of Toffee, although that was more of a green, not a purple. However, the firstborn, despite their amnesia, tries to plead with Star and the others to try to get to the Muni well. She points it out to them before being dragged under again, but the others just kind of end up frolicking about, even finding this one baby unicorn that Star and Marco kind of adopt as their own and tell it to feed off of the magical water, but it starts to lap up the corruption as well. Meanwhile, Jana ends up encountering a whole bunch of the baby unicorns, as well as these handprints all over the place. Very much reminiscent of when Star was in her puberty form. But, I start to wonder, it's just like, what created all these handprints? That doesn't seem like something Star would do. So I'm at a bit of a loss as what could this possibly be, honestly? Who's going around causing all this corruption? Meanwhile, Jana brings back all the corrupted baby unicorns, Star and Marco, who are glad to have it, and then they encounter the unicorn that dragged the firstborn underneath the magical waters, and it goes in to try to just completely consume them or something, only for them to be defended by the firstborn, who tells them that this one unicorn is not one to be tussled with. It's not a friendly unicorn. And as it goes in for the charge, the firstborn declares that it has no choice but to poof them all to Muni, thus ending the side A of our episode. And then we transfer to the side B, titled Ready, Aim, Fire, where Marco actually finds himself in the link catcher in Muni Castle of all places. So, from this, I kind of started to realize they're all taken to this place of significance, at least to them, in terms of Muni, a place where they spent a good amount of time. However, as Marco goes through and even finds a crow with a yada yada berry in its beak, he finds that the entrance he wants to use to get out is sealed off. And after he notices Sebastian approaching from deep underground and going through his hole above, he uses the crow in order to just make his way out. He then overhears a conversation of all people, it's Hecapoo, Omnitraxus, and Romulus. And we come to find out Romulus isn't imprisoned as Leah originally thought. In fact, it seems that the Magical High Commission are all working with Mina Loveberry now in order to overthrow Queen Eclipsa, which I am very disappointed in terms of Hecapoo. Although we see that Hecapoo is actually against working with Mina Loveberry here, whereas Omnitraxus and Romulus are all in for it, and I'm not surprised about Romulus. He's been a complete shit. Well, not a complete shit, but he's been very much against monsters from day one. But, Hecapoo, I'm surprised she even considered this, because she's had her ups and downs, but I really thought that she was the one person who would turn to their side. Although she was ultimately the one who proposed switching out Meteora for Festivia, so Hecapoo's hands are just as dirty as the rest of them at the end of the day. And Mina Loveberry ends up donning the Solarian armor, as well as a special sword that we find out more later on in the episode. Meanwhile, Marco decides that with all this information, he needs to go and inform Star of the goings-on. Speaking of which, Star ends up in the shed with Duuz-Diz-Din yet again, but then notices all the destruction going on at the monster temple. So she goes flying off, trying to contact Marco, but she can't get in contact with anyone. And then she notices that the human settlement that her queen made actually has these high walls just all around it, and even has guards and the like. But though she's very happy to see her mom at first, Moon makes it known that she has no intention of going and helping out Eclipsa. She's more concerned about the humans in her charge. And while Star accepts this, she lets Moon know that if she wants to truly protect her daughter, she knows where she'll be, which was a very great moment between the two of them. Star has just gotten to a point where she's so independent that even her mom can't really talk back to her about any of this stuff. Jana, on the other hand, actually ends up in Meteora's room of all places. And when she asks where Star is, Glossaric actually gives one of the most straightforward answers I've ever heard him give, and it's only just passed off as nonsense because, he says that Star is with Dupe, and Janet just brushes him off, saying that, that Dupe sounds like a made up word, whatever, man, which is just funny to me. This is all enough funny. But Janet then goes roaming through the monster castle, and then eventually notices the Solarian warrior just tearing through the town looking for someone. Jana ends up meeting up with Eclipsa, and the Solarian warrior approaches on the attack, only to be countered by Globgor, who tells Eclipsa and Jana to get in and just evacuate all the townspeople. And while that's going on, he'll do battle with the Solarian warrior. And as Globgor starts to get the upper hand, he ends up being struck on the arm by Mina's special sword that causes him to lose his shape-shifting abilities and ends up being knocked out. So Eclipsa realizes what the wound is from, but doesn't speak about it at this point, and just tries her best to bring Globgor back inside, sends Jana with him so that she can do battle with the Solarian armor. But whatever she throws at it just kind of gets brushed off, and at most she's just able to, bind the Solarian warrior to the ground. And with this, Eclipsa actually tells the two of them to get back inside and get Globgor to rest a little bit, while the Solarian warrior actually breaks through it after no time at all. Eclipsa then tries their best to try to treat the wound, but they also notice that the Solarian warrior is just trying to brute its way through the walls. Eclipsa then states that the weapon was actually forged by her mother, Solaria. It was a special weapon used specifically in order to disable monsters' power. Monsters' powers, basically. Which, I'm actually surprised we're only just now actually getting acquainted with a weapon like that. But once all the others hear the word Solarian, they gasp, and Jana, not being from here, doesn't actually know the whole situation with the Solarians and all that good stuff. So they end up explaining the whole situation with the Solarian warriors, how they thought they were all extinct, they were all these monster destroyers, and the sword that the Solarian warriors wielding is specifically designed to just, really incapacitate monsters as a whole. But then the Solarian warrior starts to break through into the palace, so Eclipsa ends up doing battle with the armor in order to keep it away from Globgor, who needs some resting up time. But he's actually kind of down on himself because he wasn't able to, keep going toe-to-toe with the monster. But Jana gives him a bit of a pep talk that, you can only do so much, it's best to leave this in the capable hands of your wife. And, for the most part, Eclipsa seems to be holding her own against the Solarian armor. However, in the end, she's only able to go on the defensive, and those defenses start to fail her after a certain point. So this was a mile-a-minute episode. It just kept going. Like, we were full steam ahead. Just even from the, more slower parts of last episode, we just keep chugging along into the next thing. And I wonder how far we'll go with all of this, because this is a very fascinating situation. Mina's not as intimidating as I feel that she could be as a final antagonist, at least as far as I can tell in terms of this. She seems to be set up to be the final antagonist. But, it's a fun situation, but, still feels a little bit, not as grandiose or grander out there, just really balls to the wall because so many people, Yeah, it's just that we've been through so many other really bad villains. Mina just seems very extremely misguided and, has a bit of zealotry for the most part for the whole situation, which, is ultimately her undoing, but she became unhinged because of the Solarian warrior experiment. That's what ultimately is her undoing in the end. But hey, that's the review. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What was your favorite part, or what did you feel was the most worth noting in terms of the, episode as a whole? How do you feel about the corruption of the realm of magic, and what do you feel is ultimately causing that? I don't quite remember anything else aside from Toffee, but maybe that's just because I haven't watched the earlier seasons in some while. But if you liked it, tell me why. If you didn't, just let me know. And and maybe you could just see. It's honestly just a bridging episode. It just helps you get from point A to point B with some fun stuff in between. But it got really intense really quickly. But again, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. How did you feel about this episode as a whole? The shifting of alliances and money to the point where it's just like, how are you guys even getting paid? You got direct deposit, right? But again, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave me a like, dislike, whatever. If you want to, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell icon, just to keep up with all my latest reviews, especially in terms of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, as we go into the final season and I get ready for fucking bed. But, and if you want to find me on social media, just Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I am everywhere. And until the next video, keep your guard up. Bye-bye.